culture, adventure, and the impact of martial arts. That's what we study here at Kung Fu Podcasts. I'm your host, T.W. Smith. Thank you for listening today. Episode number 5, WuShu, a different way to survive. We're going to be looking at the number of different ways that we can use Kung Fu. We will often make a reference to that there are 3 primary ways to use Kung Fu. I was always taught that there were only 3 types of Kung Fu. Kung Fu for show, Kung Fu for health, Kung Fu for fighting. There was no Kung Fu for sport, but it has its place. As long as we know what we're practicing, we can practice anything we want. Today we're going to be looking at how a young boy used WuShu, particularly Northern Shaolin, as a way to survive during very difficult times and hardship. Fighting doesn't always mean that we're fighting against an opponent or a superior force. It isn't always a criminal or some direct aggressor that we are trying to overcome. Sometimes the battle is more fundamental. The battle against hunger, the battle to have shelter, the battle to avoid beatings. Before we get into the podcast meat for today, I want to say thank you to Patient Chi, or Key, however you prefer to pronounce it, at Twitter for connecting with us. Also Carly Landler, actor who got in contact with us over at Twitter and connecting with us there as well. I also really want to say a thank you to all of those who have contributed to help us offset some of the costs here at Kung Fu Podcasts. Just a small contribution. Every little bit helps to help us pick up new mics and develop new ways to get the format set, which we are working on getting the ebooks so you can consume it in a way that suits your best interest and your convenience. We want to encourage all of you that participate in martial arts, either as a practitioner, teacher, hopefully both. If you're a teacher, we still hope you practice. And we want to try to provide support for your events, books, perhaps your teachings along the way, as much as possible for both free and at low cost. And to do that, any contribution helps us offset that. That being said, please make sure that you share with us your story. If you're doing a good deed out there and you're so humble that you don't want to say anything about it, tell me. I'll be glad to toot your horn a little bit and let the world know that there is more things about martial arts than it is about just hitting a bag and learning another set of form. Let me get a little swallow of water here. As many of you know, if you've been following these podcasts, I work and communicate quite a bit to Ben Juckins. And Ben is one smart guy and does a fantastic job as a historian. And I've learned some things from him in regards to how to approach some of these podcasts, which I try to do very objectively. One of the things that he gives advice for before writing an article, and I've tried to implement that here in podcasts, is that to try to define what am I talking about so that you and I, as we're communicating or you're listening, you have an idea or at least a perspective of where I'm trying to share some of this information. So, WuShu, as in the title, as it was explained to me and how I'm using it, is best defined as martial skills. It is often used as martial arts, which is fine, but it was always expressed to me that it was a martial skill, which basically means it was what you could see with your eyes, footwork, techniques, things like that are good examples that you can see. But I was also taught the real Kung Fu you can't see, because now you're talking about what's going on in the practitioner's heart and his mind, his strategies, the things that you can't see. So understanding that when we're talking about WuShu here, we're looking at what I define as martial skills. Using martial art as a way of fighting to survive. Does it always refer to an opponent or a superior force? How about having a place to sleep or a place to eat? Check episode number 4, Self-Actualization, Being Your Best. In that episode, we discuss Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I know that you will find at the base, the very fundamental of that hierarchy is food, shelter, and safety. In the episode, you will hear me make a comment in regarding to real Kung Fu. Real Kung Fu in this context was referring to the synonym. Real Kung Fu did not mean R-E-A-L, real Kung Fu. It meant R-E-E-L. Real Kung Fu was Kung Fu that looked good on film. There'll be times here where we'll be discussing the concept of discipline. When we look at the term discipline, we're going to be using it from the concept, when was the last time you were beaten for not doing well? that your form was not quite right and you received corporal punishment for it. Perhaps it was in a technique or a form. Hopefully it was not ever. But in the context of this story, discipline was put at that level. Is there any more fundamental place to practice and to use martial arts than to acquire the needs of human survival? Jackie Chan was abandoned at age 7 by his mother and father, left at the Central Academy of Drama. He was born in Hong Kong in 1954. Times in China were some of the worst in history. In fact, the Chinese themselves call 1958 through 1961 as the 3 years of natural disaster, or 3 years of great famine. Chinese journalist Yang Jixing concluded that there were 36 million deaths due to starvation, while another 40 million others failed to be born, so that China's total population loss during the Great Famine years comes to 76 million people. Once Jackie Chan was left, he would train punching and kicking hundreds of times a day. A few years later, his parents moved to Australia, leaving their son to his studies. Later, Jackie would learn that his father left 2 sons, his mother had left 2 daughters in mainland China when they had moved to Hong Kong in 1949. He was not the first child that they had abandoned. He also learned that his mother had worked as an opium smuggler. His father had been a spy and a figure in the gangs. Jackie Chan was later quoted as saying, "I was shocked. I thought he was a cook." In the PDF file here, you'll see an image of Jackie Chan standing with his mother and father when he was just a boy, looks to be about 5 years old. All right, so here's our backdrop. You're 7 years old. You just got dropped off at camp. You just didn't realize it was permanent. Millions of people are starving to death around you and where you live. There's hardship everywhere. You are not allowed to eat on numerous occasions, and you are taught Northern Shaolin as part of a key to help you survive. Later, Jackie Chan became part of a little group there called the Seven Fortunes. He learned acting, martial arts, and entertainment. He got a spot as part of this traveling entertainment team, and you can see the image here in the PDF file and the ebook file that'll be coming out, and he's standing right in the middle. Now, Ben always talks about globalization, and his mindset has helped me put my mind in a different place from time to time. So it's important here to recognize that not only was there a great famine, but at the time that Jackie Chan later became part of the Seven Fortunes, martial arts was not smiled upon at all. In the big world of China, WuShu, the genre of movies and books and things like that, of martial arts was condemned for being material for feudal thought. It was said that it propagated feudalism, and it was banned by the government in the early 1930s. There were very few martial art productions between 1938 and 1949. The genre disappeared altogether on the Chinese mainland for 3 decades when the communist government came to power. Later, martial arts cinema was restored in post-war Hong Kong in 2 main phases. The kung fu genre of the 1950s, which excited viewers by emphasizing real fighting techniques, and a new school of WuShu films of the 60s which stimulated imagination by introducing new writers, stories, and styles. I'll explain more about why this would impact the type of Shaolin or Kung Fu that you were learning, and how why being for show was important as compared to being for fighting. After the 3 great years of natural disaster, the Great Leap Forward, as it was defined by the government, began. Mao Zedong was chairman by 1962, and farming was revived. Part of the reason that the policies changed toward literature, art, and motion pictures got a little looser, which allowed for greater exploration by the writers. It also allowed for a broader range of subjects and the revival of many older artistic forms. There were new programs implemented that allowed managers to receive incentives across the board for gains made in all areas of business. Overall, China did an incredible job of rebuilding the economy during the 1961 to 1965 period in almost every sector of culture and business. So here we are. You've just earned a spot on the team that travels and performs. Now you're fed and you're clothed. You also have friends that are in the same situation that you are in. But you must be careful because there are many bans about martial arts by the government. What you learn must be presented in a way that does not encourage feudalism. Several years pass. Now we're in 1971, 1972. Jackie Chan is about 17 years old, and he's become a very good stuntman and gets a role in 2 Bruce Lee films, The Fist of Fury and Enter the Dragon. During the movie, Jackie Chan completed a historic high fall, a stunt that earned him the respectful notice of Bruce Lee and several others. In the PDF file, you'll see a great picture of Bruce Lee holding Jackie Chan in a headlock and an armbar in the Enter the Dragon movie. Jackie Chan's great leap. His entertainment career speaks for itself, but it was his ability to use Northern Shaolin as a kung fu for show that earned him food, shelter, and safety as a boy. That was the piece that Kung Fu Podcast was mostly interested in. Let's hope that other children are never put through the same thing. But if they are, they have the way to make it through. Let's roll it up to more recent. Jackie Chan has stated, "I hate violence." I can understand why he does, with all the hardship he endured and the witness that he had made along the way. But instead of callousing over and becoming bitter, he makes himself available to help others who are facing the greatest hardships we must all eventually face. There's few things harder to face than a child that knows death is imminent. You should see on the website, and I embedded on the PDF file, a video from YouTube that shows Dane Norse from Make-A-Wish Foundation on July 15, 2011. And his wish was to hang out with Jackie Chan. It's a great little video. It's not very long neither. If you get a few moments, watch it. It's very moving. Kung Fu Podcast position. I mentioned that there were 3 types of Kung Fu. None is necessarily better than the other. Kung Fu for health, Kung Fu for show, Kung Fu for fighting. It's important to know which one you're practicing at any given time. Reserve judgment. Just because you may practice a different type, they may have more of an impact than you know. This morning, before I made this recording, I spent several hours over the past few days doing the research in order to present this podcast. It just so happens that I was alerted this morning. At this time, August 2014, I became aware that Jackie Chan's son was arrested in Beijing for drug possession. It is really our hope that this is only circumstantial and not a problem that is direct for their family. If it is a direct problem that their family must face, I hope that Jackie Chan's family can regroup and be able to address this problem as a family. As a father myself, I can only imagine how difficult those sets of circumstances must be. Kung Fu Podcast, we intend to grow, support, develop along the way. If you're out there practicing, teaching, or researching, share with us. Let us know what you're doing. Articles, books, events, or just a good story. Let me know about it. I like hearing from you. We want to continue creating free and good content that you can get a hold of at your convenience. We're trying to put in a lot of different formats. If you're looking for ways to support us, like I said, you can make a contribution. You can also use our affiliate links. On the site, you'll see I try to make sure that you know that they're affiliate links, and they do not come at any cost to you, and I only use affiliate links that I know that I've actually used. And other resource links will be posted on the website as well. Thank you to Ben. Make sure that you check out his blog at Kung Fu Tea. The links are on the website. It's also in the PDF file. Twitter, Facebook, Google, and YouTube. 4 primary ways that you can find Hop, our mascot, and us. We want to hear from you. Send me an email. You can get that there at the website as well. In closing, I want to just say thank you again for including us as part of your day. Episode number 5 at Kung Fu Podcast, WuShu, a different way to survive. Culture, adventure, and the impact of martial arts. That's what we study here.